you for joining us tonight. My name is Derry Pickin. I'm one of the college counselors at KCD. I really appreciate you all joining us. This first session tonight is about visiting campuses in person and visiting campuses virtually, which is obviously new territory for all of us. But we're joined tonight by our friend Chris Hitchcock, Associate Director of Admission at Hanover College. Before we get started, just remind you of a couple of things. One, please keep your microphone muted. If you do have questions, just type them into the chat. We'll have a couple of minutes here at the end where I'll kind of moderate some questions and we can, chat a little bit further. But Chris, I'll just give it to you to take away. Thanks so much.
Appreciate you guys, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be able to have this opportunity to share. I am going to talk a little bit about the campus visit experience. It has certainly changed over the course of the last year with the onset of our worldwide pandemic. And so the admissions world, when it comes to visits, has had to kind of pivot ourselves. And so I want to make sure we cover both the in-person visit and also the virtual visit tonight. So I'm going to share my screen here and try to make sure we do this correctly. So can you guys see? Can you see anything?
Not yet, no.
About now?
No.
Still can't? Well, I can see it.
If you go to the, are you going to the present now?
Yeah, I think it's coming.
Here we go. It's coming up.
Yeah, it's just slow. Okay, so as Derry said, I'm Chris Hitchcock. I'm the Associate Director of Admissions at Hanover College. For those of you aren't aware of Hanover, we are located in historic Hanover, Indiana, near historic Madison, Indiana, on the banks of the Ohio River on 650 beautiful acres, just approximately 50 minutes from your school on the Indiana side. And then I want to talk to you a little bit about being ready to set up that college campus visit experience. And of course, all of you are going to be at a different kind of place when you think about visiting a college campus. And there's some factors I want you to consider. And the first thing that I want you to think about is, which way will you experience a campus? And when we start to think about the worldwide pandemic, we certainly have to consider the safety of your student, your family, and the campus's students and faculty, staff, and personnel. And so there seems to be now a two-way street. The in-person visit and every campus is going to be completely different how those are going to operate. And there are still some campuses that are not allowing in-person visits. And then there's the virtual visit, and that is a growing and kind of a newer way to explore the college without leaving your home. And so over the course of tonight, we'll make sure that we touch base on both platforms. One of the biggest questions I think that comes up when we think about visiting a college campus is, when do I even think about visiting? And so I just want to touch base with you guys about that, because the real answer is when you're ready, when your student's ready. But we do see an influx of visitors, usually around spring break of the student's junior year. We do see several visitors over the summer months, and then the majority of our visitors come for the first or second visit in fall of their senior year. That doesn't mean that we don't have visitors come after Christmas and in this time of year as a senior, and it also doesn't mean we don't see freshmen and sophomores. But the bulk of our visitors that I think college campuses see are usually sometime in their late junior, early senior year. I think there's something to really consider. What's going to be best for you and your family and your student is that it might depend on one of the factors. And I think there's three big factors: the admit process, and have you filled out an application? Have you already been admitted to the school that you're going to visit? Because if you have, that might change how you want your visit experience to go. And if you haven't been admitted to that school and you're just exploring, that might change how you want your visit to go. The other factor is the financial aid process. And so sometimes students wait to get that financial aid package and then decide if they can afford the school and go to the school for a campus visit, while other families will decide to go explore and then get that information later. So those are certainly things that I think a family needs to consider before they set up their college visits. And then as you explore which colleges and how many colleges you do want to visit and how many are on that list, I think the most important thing is, as a family, you need to do some research ahead of time before you consider making that investment of time and maybe some financial resources to visit your campuses. A lot of campuses have incentives for you to visit. And so For example, at Hanover, we do have a $1,000 renewable scholarship for visiting during your senior year. So obviously, if you come during your junior year, that's exciting and you get to explore Hanover, but we encourage you to come back for your senior year. So that might be an incentive for you to think about taking an opportunity to come to our campus. I know that that kind of incentive exists in other campuses as well. Some of those are in form of financial aid. Some of those are in forms of swag. Some of those are just maybe scholarship deadlines that you have to meet and you have to come back to visit campus. And then for those of you who are thinking right now, hey, the summer is approaching and that's going to be a great time to visit campuses, it certainly is. But I do want you to consider that not all campuses have summer courses going on. And so the vibe of the campus may completely change during the summer months from what it would look like here in the fall or in the springtime when there are little to fewer classes going on. If you're looking at a large institution like the U of L or UK, obviously there's going to be classes, but even those students have a summer break and fewer classes, a lot of them. So it might just be a different vibe, and that might really impact how you see the campus when you tour it. So I would definitely consider those things when you're thinking about when is the right time to visit campus. And the correct answer is going to be when you're ready. Obviously, we'll be happy to host you, and any campus would be when you do take that next step. I think the vibe of the campus is one of the most important things to consider, and every single visit that you are going to take will be completely unique. I hear from families all the time about this college did this and that college was more individualized and this group had a group session. I really think that you need to go in with an open mind and understand that there is no cookie cutter approach to the campus visit experience. It's going to be different, and it's going to be different based on when you're there, different on when you're in the process of the admissions process, and it's going to be different in terms of just the whole campus situation. So I just want to touch base with some things I think you should consider before you visit. And I listen to families all the time, and some of them start arguing in front of me because they didn't realize some of the factors going into the visit that maybe eliminates that school, but yet you've just invested time and resources to get here. So what I say by research is, does the school have the academic major or reputation that you're looking for? Do they offer the co-curriculars, the clubs and organizations, athletics, theater, band, choir, those opportunities for your student that they are interested in? Does the campus promote the community that you're looking for, whether that is a large school, a small school, a diverse school, those kind of things? Definitely something you want to do research before you even schedule a time to set foot on campus. And then this one I think is very important, and that is affordability, because as you are probably learning through this process, college has a large investment. It is really awkward as an admissions counselor to meet with a family who has not had any conversation about the cost of the college, and when an admissions counselor brings that up, they look at each other with fear or concern or anger, and all of a sudden it's an awkward situation. So I would highly recommend that you do that research prior to even stepping foot on any of the campuses, unless you're just doing a drive-by or just a quick explore. I also would recommend that you research what you're capable of doing on each visit. At Hanover, you're able to do a lot of things in person on a visit right now, including a campus tour, meeting with an admissions counselor, meeting with a professor, attending a class, meet with a coach, meet with a student, have lunch here on campus. But not all campuses are allowing that. And some of that is COVID related, and some of that is just different ways of handling the visit. You also would want to consider what date fits your schedule and what might be happening on that campus during that visit you want to attend. I had a parent tell me over Christmas time when it was snowing here, how different the campus felt than when they were here on the first visit in the fall. And it was like, yes, exactly. In the fall, it's lots of colors and lots of leaves. And in the wintertime, it's cold and nobody wants to be outside. So there is a different vibe for when you visit campus. And so I think that's something to consider. Maybe you're attending a large university on a home football game. Maybe you're attending a small university on a theater event. And so you might have some other things that you want to see while you're on campus and explore. So I would definitely research that and see what's going on the campus before you pick your date. Every campus is going to offer a different way of having individualized or small group or large group visits. And that's going to impact maybe how you visualize the visit. So if your student doesn't like to be in large group settings, then I would not attend a large group campus visit. And that's just going to be something that you want to make sure when you set up your visit that you consider. At Hanover, you can have an individualized visit, but you can also have a small group visit. I'm assuming at University of Kentucky, those are some options too to consider. But you don't want to put your student in a situation where they're already going to be put off by the campus, even if it's a wonderful campus and the right fit for them, just because you've picked the wrong size of the tour or the wrong individualized component to the visit. And then the other thing I would consider before you set up your visit is how much time do you want to invest in the day? Do you want to come on a Monday through Friday? Are you looking for a Saturday? Some of that might be dependent on your work schedules. I understand that completely. Some of that might be dependent upon your students' extracurricular schedules, maybe an athletic event or a theater performance, and all of a sudden it's really difficult to find a time to visit. And hey, I'm staring at one day on a Tuesday in the middle of December, and that's the only time we can visit, and completely understand that. But if you do have the opportunity to evaluate how much time do you want to spend in that on that campus visit, it will definitely impact the success or the lack of success of how you feel when you come on that campus. The last thing I would want any family to do is feel rushed. I know a lot of families try to schedule visits 2 or 3 in a day so that they don't have to, utilize extra resources financially to try to see as many schools as possible. But are you going to get the exact experience that you want out of that visit by doing that? Is it going to benefit the student in helping them through the decision process? So just some things that I think you should probably consider before you even set up a campus visit. And once you are ready and have done that research and are considering what time and all those things and all those factors, I would think that every college campus in America has a campus visit coordinator, someone that you can touch base with either via phone or via the internet online to set up your visit. And that campus visit coordinator is kind of the point of contact to confirm and give you parking passes and things like that for your visit, text you, and obviously you communicate with them if there's anything special needs or things that you want to have on your visit experience that might be just a little bit unique. I would recommend that you do take your campus tour on the initial visit. The campus tour usually includes seeing some of the academic buildings, some residence halls, the food services places, and some other key places that maybe support the success of the student, like the library or any learning centers or career centers, things like that. I do want you to note that, especially on larger campuses, you will not have the time to see every building that you may want to. And so, again, depending on what time you've invested in that visit experience, you might want to plan on, hey, if this is in my top 5 at the end of this process, I want to make a second visit and then ask to see maybe the building you didn't see on the first visit. Because most tours are going to be anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour and a half, just depending on the campus. Do let the campus visit coordinator know if you have any special needs in terms of how to travel during that. On our campus, it's a very walkable campus, and you get a nice little hour walk. But if you have the need to have a golf cart or a campus security officer take you to places because of health issues or injuries, then you want to make sure you've let the admissions coordinator know that so that you have the best experience you can. Not all campuses are walkable. Some campuses will ask you to do some driving tour on top of a walking tour. The other piece that I would highly recommend that you include on your campus visit is your interview with an admissions counselor. Sometimes those are anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes and can be as few as 10 or 15 minutes. But this is going to really depend upon when and where you are in the admissions process. If you are not an admitted student and you're a junior or a senior who hasn't applied to that institution, and this is a place that your student is highly excited about, I would definitely make sure that you do the interview with the admissions counselor, because the admissions counselor is going to ask questions that sees, is the student prepared for this college? Are they on the right track academically? What are some of the things that they're doing in their high school that is allowing them to take this jump into the education rigor and curriculum and be prepared? They're also asking questions to see, Are there any extra scholarships that this student might be excited about or be able to apply to? For example, here at Hanover, we have a couple competition scholarships that our students can apply to. And when we interview our prospective students during their visit experience, we know, hey, they might be a great candidate for that. And then we reach out to them when that scholarship comes online and they're able to apply to it. So I definitely think the interview with the admissions counselor is a must, along with the tour. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of other things to consider to do. I've listed some of these on the slide, and I know it's a little harder to read, so if you need to get your readers out, I get it, but I'll just kind of read through them. We see a lot of students who ask to attend a class, and if you are able to have an in-person visit, and some campuses have the ability to do that, while others may shy away from that, but I think it's important if your student wants to see what it looks like and feels like in a classroom, and that's an option, they can do that. If that's not an option, you can't attend a class or you don't have time, some campuses will allow you a chance to meet with the professor in their area of academic major. If your student knows for a fact they're going to be a pre-med, then they want to meet with someone in our biology department, then certainly that can be arranged. However, a lot of students are undecided, so they may not know which professor to talk to or have an interest in that. So again, these are kind of some things to consider and make options on your visit experience. If your student is athletically inclined and they want to meet with the coach, there's a couple ways to do that. In a lot of cases, they may already be talking to the coach, and the coach may even be helping plan this visit, and that does happen quite a bit. But if they are exploring and they want to reach out to the coach and introduce themselves, especially as a junior, then they have the ability to do that, and they can talk to the visit campus coordinator, and those campus coordinators can reach out to the coach and say, hey, so-and-so is going to be here on Tuesday if you're available. Those meetings with the coach can be 20 minutes to an hour. You might be able to have lunch with someone on a coaching staff, depending on their availability, this in season, out of season. And so things like that. You could do the same with band and choir or theater. Doesn't have to just necessarily be just with athletics. A lot of our families want to check out the food services, and so they ask to have lunch with us. I know that happens at a lot of campuses. Here at Hanover, we have several different places you can eat, but we like to allow our families and our students the ability to have lunch and kind of see what the campus vibe is during lunch. And we allow a student to accompany them and ask questions and just have a little bit further engagement. Some campuses just say, hey, lunch is over in these buildings and come back at 12 or 1, and you have a chance to go over there and do that on your own and explore. But it's certainly something you want to consider. And as I said a little bit earlier, individual request. Just this week, I had 2 students in separate visits who wanted to meet with our food services because of food allergies and vegan options, and how does our dining service help our students stay healthy and also promote those resources for those individualized situations. Maybe your student has an accommodation in school right now, and they want to pursue what has that work at the college level, and what are the resources available on your campus or that campus you're going to. So you can request to meet with those services as well. So if you take advantage of all of those things, you're going to have a campus tour, a meeting with an admissions counselor, possibly attend a class or meet with the professor, meet with the coach, have lunch. All of a sudden, you're talking about a big portion of your day, and that's going to be several hours, 3 or 4 right there, if that's something you're interested in. The other thing that I would say is if you just want to do an exploratory visit, I would recommend you do the first 2 that I mentioned earlier, and that was these 2 up here, tour campus and interview with the counselor. And then if you want to come back for a second visit and kind of dive into some of these things, you can. There are definitely special events on our campuses that we encourage prospective students to attend, and I know this is the case in other campuses. Those can be guest speakers. In the past, we've had here on campus before COVID, we had Bill Nye the Science Guy and Sal from Impractical Jokers. We want our students to attend sporting events, especially if they're interested in playing a sport. They want to attend those games. And then a lot of times we just have some major events here on campus. So that's going to be true at any college campus. There's going to be some special events. And so, as I mentioned earlier, you may want to consider that during your campus visit to be part of it. And that's going to add a little bit more investment of time as well. Prior to COVID, a lot of campuses have an overnight visit option. And we have a campus visit coordinator that sets that up with some of our student ambassadors, and that's their job, and they get paid to do that, and they're really highly trained and outstanding ambassadors for our school. But they allow the student to get an overnight experience and maybe attend one of those special events while also having that full day. So just some things to consider when you think about how long and how much do I want to do on a campus visit. So just kind of to recap, I think what's important, and at the end here, we'll make sure we answer any questions. Decide what's important to you. Learn about the college you're visiting. Decide how much time you want to invest on your visit. And then I would highly recommend you just keep an open mind about each visit. It's going to be unique. Each school has different ways of going about it, and different buildings and different structures and different patterns. So just kind of know that going in. And don't forget, you can visit a campus once and you can visit a campus twice, and as much as you want to. So when the pandemic hit last March, I think everybody in the world went into a panic and no one kind of knew what to do. And all of a sudden, what emerged was the visit experience had to be reimagined, because we no longer were allowing any in-person visits. At least we went from March to June here at Hanover without any in-person visits, and we were fortunate enough to open those back up in June and have been ever since. But what emerged was rethinking it. And so I just kind of want to touch base on what a virtual visit might look like. So there's lots of reason to have a virtual visit, not just COVID. Maybe you're far away from that campus and you're not wanting to spend the time or the money on a plane ticket or the travel time that's necessary to check that school out to see if it's even considered on the list. And so a lot of campuses have taken this virtual platform and started running with it. And so you're going to see a shift. I don't think this is going away, even when COVID is and all the vaccines and we're safe and we can go back to normal life, if there is such a thing. I do think you'll see this virtual platform continue to grow. So you can take a virtual tour at almost every campus, and a virtual tour is going to kind of be a composite of a video or a panoramic pictures, maybe some drone footage, some live recordings, some recordings that have already been pre-made, and just a chance for you to kind of get a feel for what campus might look like and feel like. And you can go to pretty much any admissions online site and see the virtual tour option. You can still have an admissions counselor interview just like you're in person. Those just kind of happen over Zoom or Google Meets or Teams. They're usually one-on-one meetings with you and your family, or it can be you and the student, and you can have that same ability to connect and share depending on where you are in that application process. A lot of colleges went to the admission presentation, where they're anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour and a half. Those can be one-on-one. Those can also be in a panel format. And so I know here at Hanover, we have three options. You can have a one-on-one presentation with us. You can have a panel where we have students and we have faculty, staff discuss Hanover. And then we also have an admissions counselor presentation. So there's different ways to engage. A lot of schools went to a chat with the current student. And so I mentioned our student ambassadors in person, they give the tours, but when we were not giving tours, we shifted them to the ability to have chat options. And so you can log on to hanover.edu and go straight to having a conversation with one of our ambassadors, or your student can. And those can be set up. And those are monitored, and there are safety checks. And so we do know what is being said, and you would too as well. And then the invention of YouTube has changed our world. If you have a teenager, and I do, YouTube is the go-to sometimes. It's more important than anything else. And so why not share our campus with the rest of the world on YouTube? And so Hanover has an own YouTube channel, and so do most other campuses. Those channels have videos about our residence halls, our dining, our academics, our labs, some of our research, our downtown area here in historic Madison area. And so a lot of students can find the virtual visit and get a feel for the campus that way. So you're definitely going to continue to see this virtual option, and you're definitely going to have the ability to decide which one fits for you based on your situation. So I know I'm kind of running close to the end of my time, and I want to make sure I answer all questions. I'm going to get my shameless plug in for Hanover here real quick before I open up to any questions.
Chris, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So for students who are doing a lot of virtual visits, maybe after a while, campuses can sort of look the same, especially if it's like, similar drone footage of a quad, similar I don't know, stock photos of the science labs or whatever. Are there things that you recommend families sort of keying in on or looking for specifically in a virtual visit to help distinguish school A from school B?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And again, we're the research and the data just isn't there because we're only a year into this to see how that is impacting the students. But I think it's going to be really an individualized question. And I kind of mentioned that in the in-person. If you are focused on certain aspects, there's the social aspect, there's the academic aspect, you know, what's the number one or two things that your student is looking for in that school? That's what I would be focusing on. And if a school doesn't have that, then maybe they're trying to hide something. I'm not necessarily saying that that's maybe the case, but it could be a reason to be concerned if you can't find anything about residential life. If you can't see a video of the food services, then that campus is either not moving with the times or, again, maybe trying to be a little bit more cautious about what they put out there. So yeah, that would be kind of my recommendation is what do you want to be looking for and look for those things.
We also hear a lot in our office, you know, oh, I took this college visit and I really liked the place, but it was raining.
Yeah.
Or it was freezing cold when we went and, you know, we had to leave early. Are there things you recommend when students, you know, feel safe to do so and be on a campus?
Yeah.
What do you look for when it's raining?
Right. Well,
something cool on campus.
Here's what I like to tell my families who notice that. It's not going to be sunny and 75 every day at Hanover College, and that's life. And if it is somewhere, then we're probably in San Diego. But it's a realistic look of what campus is going to be like. And if you can like the college on a rainy day, think about how you're going to like it on a nice sunny 75 day. It does impact the visit, though, especially a snowy, icy day. Yeah, you're not going to see the students out and about and roaming a college campus as much because they don't want to be out in the cold. They want to get to their class as fast as possible. There's not a lot of outdoor activities. And so that's why I recommend when you think about when do you want to visit, that you consider, hey, if I'm thinking January, you know, it may not be the cool campus that you envisioned that you saw on the television show.
Of course. Of course. Well, Chris, thank you so much for joining us tonight and putting this together. You know, I think especially for sophomore families who are kind of just getting used to this college process, you know, any tips on, okay, we've heard we're supposed to visit a campus. Now, how do we do that? And what do we do when we're there? You know, I think that's a really good introduction to kind of what the next step should be.
Absolutely. And feel free to reach out to me. It doesn't have to be Hanover specific. If you just want to discuss this topic more, I'm happy to do so, or through Derry. I love having the ability to see students find the right home for themselves. Obviously, I'm partial to Hanover, but it's not about that. It's about finding a fit for them and seeing students find success. And, you know, it's a big process.
Yeah, definitely.
We love all the families out there going through it, and lots of counselors are here to help you.
Yeah. Well, Chris, thank you again so much. You know, on behalf of me and Danny, we really appreciate your time. Yeah, families, we'll be back. We'll take about a 15-minute break if you want to come back for the next session. It's about tips for a successful college search with our friend Megan from Rhodes College. So, you know, you can log off now, and if you want to come back here in about 15 minutes, we'll start the next session. Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you, Chris.